I have the privilege of sitting down with very externally successful people providing coaching, and I love my job. It's a great thing. I will tell you that I hear very similar comments from people as they talk and they share regrets, which they do with me. And some of those regrets that I hear consistently are that they wish they were living their own life, their own purpose, and not a purpose of other people, not pleasing other people, living true to themselves. They wish that they weren't workaholics, and they wish they didn't give so much of their time to their job. They wish that they could express their feelings and that people would know how they feel, their good and their negative feelings, but they wish they had the courage to tell people that they appreciate them and encourage them. They wish that they had stayed in better touch with their friends, like that they had the friendships that they so desire, where they're honest with people and they're connected with people, and they wish they would let themselves be happier. Interestingly enough, I read a book after I've heard this stuff for 20 years, these themes from people when they share their true feelings with me, that I found a book called The 5 Top Regrets of the Dying, and it just, confirmed what I had heard for so long. I do make this recommended reading for clients, and her experience with people are those 5 regrets that I hear from others and have heard from other people. And we're going to talk about breaking out of this to actually not get to the end of your life where you actually regret the decisions that you have made and have not made, because not making a decision is a decision. Not making a decision is a decision. You're just avoiding. You're going to have excuses as to why you didn't make that decision, but you still made, by default, a decision. So today, we're going to talk about creating a legacy plan, a plan that guides your future. The journey we take clients on is called the legacy journey. So you're going to get some simple, practical tools and concepts. And even though it may seem complicated as I share it right now, it's really not going to be that complicated. But you're still probably going to want to avoid some of the stuff that I'm going to share. And you can share this content with your 6-year-old child, and they're going to actually understand it. I sat down with 2 good friends yesterday. They're 2 of my monkeys, Alan and Brent. And both of them have made massive career, or actually one is contemplating, one has made a massive career change. They're both engineers by training. One's a chemical engineer and one, I believe, is more of a structural engineer. And they both have decided they want to become clinical therapists in their 50s. Pretty cool. And one of them actually is. But I look at that and I say, man, for Brent, it's taken him 10 years to get there or more. 15 years ago, I was talking to Brent about this change. But they both started, and one's formulating a plan, one's engaging a plan, but it's all planned. It's a bigger plan for their future. So today, I'm pretty excited because, I notice people that they have anxiety and fear and this stuff that holds them back, and they're stuck. I mean, they just don't know what to do. But that fear, if you look at it accurately, it's telling you that you need to do, in most cases, some more planning. And not only do you need to do more planning, but you need to engage your plan and share your plan and revise your plan. But you need, and it's this powerful thing where you step back from your life and you actually contemplate what you want and you start to formulate a way to get there. How exciting is that? That's not self-preservation. That's not staying safe. That's going big. And so there's nothing more damaging to your mental health than playing it small, than staying safe. There's nothing long-term, and that's what we're talking about here is long-term. There's nothing more empowering than facing the core issues that are holding you back, and that is a brave, brave thing. That's like being in the front lines in military combat. I mean, that's a brave thing to go back and face the junk that you've avoided for so long. I'm going to give you 3 different decisions that you can make to create this plan for your future. So welcome to the Decide Your Legacy podcast. I'm your host, Adam Gragg. I founded Decide Your Legacy in 2012, and what we do is we take leaders and their business teams, and we help them engage and face the core issues holding them back so they can make long-term change. We're not in the business of short-term change, of Band-Aids. I've been a clinician, a licensed family therapist for 27 years, since 1999. I think that's 27 years, yes. And I have issues at times with the way people go about helping people with their mental health, because are they being honest with them? Are they facing the core issues holding them back? So everything we do is non-clinical. It's coaching. Everything we do is challenging people to face this stuff so they can make changes that stick. I want you to help you make changes that stick. If you listen to this episode, you're going to be challenged to make changes in your life that are going to stick and change your life forever. Pretty cool. So first decision that I challenge you to make if you want to create this plan for your future is to start creating the freaking plan, okay? Start carving out time in your schedule where you can listen to some relaxing music, engage in some meditation, engage in a hobby, do something fun, and start to write down the answers to some really powerful questions, to start to think about what you want. What are those powerful questions? I'm going to share with you. You're getting some secrets to my madness right here. One of the first questions I ask any client is, who are your monkeys? Who do you have in your corner that are going to back you up and that's on your side? And a monkey is somebody that's going to do that. If you don't know what a monkey is, I mean, it's not in a negative sense at all. There's somebody that has your back, that decreases the stress in your life, that helps you to move forward, that's going to challenge you and be honest with you. They're an ace. An ace is somebody, it's an acronym for somebody that accepts you and they challenge you and they encourage you. They're someone that's going to be honest with you. They're not going to just sit back and tell you it's all okay for their own sense of comfort. They're not going to enable you, which in the next episode we're covering the difference between enabling and harming. Enabling and harming. Enabling is harming. Enabling versus helping. But your monkeys are going to help you. They're helping you move forward. So you can identify. And if you don't have any, start making some, because it's going to be impossible to succeed in your life without good friends. Absolutely impossible. In fact, it will end your life early without good friends. But are you a good friend to other people? That's what you got to ask yourself. So who are your monkeys? Second question, starting your plan and doing this self-reflection. Are you brave enough to do it? Is what is your ideal future? In 5 years, in 10 years, in 25 years, in 50 years, what is your ideal future? Are you living for wealth preservation and self-preservation? Or are you living for health preservation, which I would say is a healthy thing? I find sometimes people are more concerned about their wealth than their own physical health. That's a huge regret 20 years down the road. They have all this money, but I will tell you that if you have a $300 million net worth and you don't have your health, you would give every freaking dime plus a loan for another $100 million to have your health back. You would. You would give every freaking dime to have your health back. And I've sat with countless people who don't have their health at the end of their lives, and they have all the wealth they want, but they don't have relationships with their kids, with their friends. If you don't have great relationships with your kids and you're more concerned about your wealth, that's a really big problem. And I know people and have met people with extraordinary net worth that do not prioritize their wealth. They prioritize their health at a much higher level. It's not the next home they're going to own. It's the next relationship they're going to build and the next person they're going to encourage. That attracts me to them. That attracts everyone to them because they're not in that game. I tell people, if they ask me sometimes, like, well, Adam, how much money do you want? And I don't have a specific goal. The main goal that I have as far as money is to have enough to do the things that I want to do that can impact other people's lives, to move very quickly. I find wealthy people with a healthy orientation towards money, they don't talk about it. They don't talk about it except as an instrument to make decisions quickly to impact other people's lives. And you may be listening to this and say, well, Adam, you don't have $50 million. Well, first of all, you don't know if I have $50 million or not. But if I did, or if I do, I don't want that as something that's a status symbol. I want that as something to move the needle forward, to help other people. And it's a temptation. It's a temptation to want to play it safe. It's a temptation to want to get to the place where I don't have to worry about money, but I don't ever want to be at that place. And even if I do have tons of money, I would hope and pray that I'm still living as if that's not my identity. And that's not what I care about, rather than having money to move the needle forward. and to impact people's lives. So the third question is, how do I add value to other people's lives? How do I like myself to say, man, I am in a privileged position to add value to people's lives, and I want to use that to the full extent. This is God-given ability I've been blessed with based on my life experiences, based on the challenges I've faced, based on my draws, what I'm interested in, and I want to use that to the fullest extent. Fourth question is, what do I need each day to thrive? And this is all creating your plan. So each day I know I need risk and accomplishment. I need risk, accomplishment, challenge. And at the end of the day, I want to reflect on how I've engaged people in a way where I've made a difference and I've gained. And it's not even what happened during that day. I've taken risk and I've failed. I've messed stuff up because I've tried, but I've done things and I've moved forward. And that's made a difference in my life and other people's lives as well. The sixth question is, what's my purpose in life? What is it that I've been drawn to, uniquely called to do in this world? So for me and for Decide Your Legacy, our purpose is helping leaders and their teams face the core issues holding them back, to make long-term life transformations. I mean, that's it. I want to help people face stuff, to go big, to challenge themselves. You know, another way, and another really important question, which I need to cover in another podcast, that's a part of this plan, and it may sound contradictory, but I ask people and I help people to identify. We help people, my team, we help people identify what is it that you believe about yourself that harms you, and what's a news story that you can write based on outlying information related to that thing that you believe about yourself that harms you. You know, there's other situations where that didn't come to play. You know, I tell myself a lot of times, like, and this is my natural default, don't have the hard conversation. You know, don't have the hard conversation. Avoid. But then I look at outliers and think, well, hey, you know, the story that I'm writing in my life means that I'm addressing the core issues in other people's lives, and in my own life, I have to lead the way. And that's what leads to change, and that's what leads to transformation. That's what leads to really going big in your life. So what can you do about this? Well, you can start today by blocking out an hour of time in your schedule to do the reflection that's necessary to create the plan. If you're telling yourself, well, I don't know what to do with my time, or I got to go do this, and I go do that. I got to take my time to do this activity. You know, I don't have time to actually sit and self-reflect. Well, that's time that's going to be wasted doing things that are not the most essential things, because you don't have time not to step back from your life and create a plan. It's going to save you countless hours by having a plan than by avoiding taking the time to actually get to know yourself. It's a scary thing to get to know yourself. You can justify, rationalize, minimize, avoid all kinds of stuff. You can just tell yourself, and you can play the victim card. And that's all avoidance of facing your core issues. So the second decision is you start creating this plan, and then you also build intentionally into your life a chance and time to focus on your plan. 15 minutes a day will make a huge difference in your life. So you have this plan created, and then fear tells you to not focus on it, to stay away from it, to just tuck it away. I'm not going to look at that. You know, it's like a financial plan that you avoid. If you just avoid it, then you're going to make decisions based on emotion, not based on creating systems in your life where you're saving money, creating systems in your life where you're investing money, creating systems in your life where you're giving money. You're creating a plan. So take the time. Most people will never do this. I know most of you will tune out. I mean, that's just the way it is, because self-preservation is so incredibly strong. Listening to this kind of podcast is going to trigger in you some anxiety that's going to say, like, I don't want to deal with this kind of stuff. Or even that negativity, like, what does Adam know? He doesn't really know about this stuff. Look, you know, come on. But hey, you know, yeah, I mean, you may not know what I know. It may be easy to judge me, because that's self-preservation. That's your own fear talking. Judgment is putting somebody else in a category, in a box, so I don't have to actually look at things from a big picture, holistic point of view. I don't want to listen to what they have to say. I don't want to hear what they have to say. This is what causes polarization politically, because somebody just has one opinion that you don't like. They're not able to think clearly. I mean, you're judging them, but you're the one not able to think clearly. I mean, because you're judging them and drawing conclusions without even getting to know them, and not seeing them as a person, not seeing them as somebody with value, but seeing them as an enemy, just for the sake of your own safety. So you'll never do this. Most people won't do this. Most people won't go back and review it. Most people won't even sit down and create the plan. If you do this, I'm going to start admiring you right away. Because you've done something that takes courage, to have the time to step back, to create the time to step back and self-reflect. I like to read through it in the morning, first thing in the morning, and I like to read through my legacy plan, which I have a legacy plan, and I'm happy to share with you my legacy plan if you ask me. I do share it more and more with people. I share it with clients and people interested in hiring Decide Your Legacy as a coach. I share it with people that are friends. I ask for feedback, and I want to look at it every day to see how aligned I am to it. It's a really big deal. So I want to share it with trusted monkeys. That's part of my focusing on the plan. So you start focusing on who your monkeys are. You start focusing on what your ideal future actually is. You start focusing on how you add value to people's lives. You start focusing on how you need to thrive each day, and you start focusing on your life purpose. You start focusing on the new story for your future, and that's what's happened with Alan and Brent as they've thought about becoming clinicians and coaches, because I believe both of them will be great coaches as well. But they don't work for me. But maybe they will in the future for us. Decide Your Legacy, that is. But they started to rewrite the story. And they have started to focus on this newer story. And it's given them courage to face these situations because they know that this bigger future in 25 years and 10 years and 5 years is worth it. And it's so much more important that they have this impact that God's called them to have than playing it safe. And so that negativity has much less power. It's not that they don't actually have to hear that voice in their head of negativity and fear and anxiety, but the voice of hope and truth. And moving forward and pushing forward is getting stronger and stronger each day. And I see it. So if you found this podcast helpful so far, you're going to love Shatterproof Yourself LITE. Hit the link to Shatterproof Yourself LITE. Go through this content. Super powerful. There's worksheet content to that. And you're going to create and engage 7 brave steps to creating and to going bigger in your future, to creating a plan, to making your life shatterproof, more resilient. So the third step in creating a plan and creating your legacy plan, first one is you start creating it. Second one is you focus on it. The third one is you use it. So you look at your plan and you start evaluating your alignment on a scale of 1 to 10 in each area. So if you look at this 10-year future that you want, this ideal future, and you say, well, how aligned are my decisions today to get me there on a scale of 1 to 10? And you have to be honest and say, well, it's a 2 because I'm not doing this stuff. I'm just dreaming. Or you can say it's a 5, or you can say it's a 7. I mean, how aligned are you to doing and utilizing the God-given natural talents, unique abilities that you have on a scale of 1 to 10? Are you doing it? Are you taking action based on it? If it's a 3, then it's going to challenge you and inspire you to make some changes in your life to go bigger with your life and to start orienting your schedule and start orienting your decisions and aligning them with your legacy plan. So you look at it, you gain awareness, and then I would encourage you to share it as well. That's part of using it, is you're sharing it and you're asking your monkeys, how does my life seem to align with this plan that I've created for my life? Or what adjustments would you suggest that I make? And that is a brave thing. You don't have to take their advice on it, but you're trusting them enough to give you feedback and ask you challenging questions and to challenge your alignment in those areas. If you don't have a plan, you'll be influenced by your emotions. You'll do what feels safe and what feels comfortable. Over time, that will drain your life, and it'll lead to a life that you regret at the end of your life because you'll look back and say, I could have done so much more. I could have had those friendships. I could have engaged in those friendships. Because I know that a lack of friendships is a top regret of people towards the end of their life, I'm not willing to go down that path. So I invite a lot, and I get rejected more than most people. I get ghosted more than most people. I can guarantee you this week I'll get ghosted and rejected by a dozen people. But that's only because I don't take that personally the same way I used to. If I invite people to go do something and they don't want to reach out and say hello or whatever, that's okay. If I invite someone to get lunch, that's okay. It's not a reflection of me. I know I add value because I focus on my plan and I focus on my history. I focus on the decisions I've made. I know that I bring something to the table. And that may sound kind of arrogant, but it's not to me because I know that it can be helpful to other people. So why not use this plan? Why not use this life I've been given? I've only got one life. I don't want you to look at this and listen to this podcast and end up somewhere you don't want to go based on your fear. I don't want you to end up living someone else's purpose and not the purpose you've been called to live. I don't want you to end up being consumed by money and being consumed by eventually your poor health because you've neglected it, or consumed by codependent relationships that are draining you and sucking the life out of you rather than getting into these healthy monkey relationships. I don't want you to live I don't want you to get to the end of life where you don't have a plan, or you've realized that you've spent your life preserving wealth and not engaging and using your wealth for good. I don't want that to happen to you. That's a very dangerous place to live. That's a very dangerous way to live. So in review, you create your plan, you focus on your plan, and you use your plan. And, this is why I created Decide Your Legacy. In 2010 is when I started dreaming about it. Even before that, 2012, I started it. And one of the first things I ever did was create a little game. And I did this before I started the business called the Legacy Jar. We're getting ready to launch our third version of the Legacy Jar. And the reason that is something I want to share right now is because that is a jar full of questions to ask your friends and family and coworkers, and it gets you thinking about the most important stuff in your life. And it's that stuff that's going to change your life. If you're willing to engage in the hard conversations, it's going to change your life. I've seen it, and I want to see it in your life, and I want to see it in my friends' lives, and I want to see it in my neighbors' lives. I don't want to see safety. Safety, if I look at people in my life and people historically that I admire, they didn't play it safe. They didn't live that way. And it ended up having a huge impact on other people. So let that be you. So what insight have you gained today, and what actions are you going to commit to taking based on this content? What are you going to apply? You have to decide and act and then repeat. So 80% of transformational change is action. 20% or probably less is insight. Today you gained insight, hopefully. What are you going to apply? So commit to doing something and tell somebody about it. To decide means you're eliminating other options. You're saying, like, of all these different paths I can take today based on content that I have, I'm going to commit to this one thing. Your legacy is the impact your life is having and has on other people. And there's no positive change until you decide to change. Decide today, because your legacy depends on it. Your legacy depends on it. So I'm going to close the way I always do. Make it your mission to live the life today that you want to be remembered for 10 years after you're gone. You decide your legacy, nobody else. I appreciate you greatly, and I'll see you next time.